Stay safe. I'm tired of hearing it. No, I'm not tired of keeping our vulnerable and at-risk population safe. I'm tired of no one talking about why so many are vulnerable and at risk in the first place. I'm tired of no one talking about what it really takes to stay safe and be healthy in the first place. Every news anchor and politician, every well-intentioned relative, the person wearing a mask on a Zoom call, and even the barista handing me my coffee with their arm extended as far as it possibly could go and a mask tightened as tight as it could be. They're all saying the same thing. Stay safe. And what they really mean with those two little words are just this: stay home, hide, wear a mask, sanitize your hands, and hope for a cure. But what eats at me, and what I take responsibility to change for as many as possible in the future, is that I know what they don't yet know. And that is the reality that those things are a far cry from what it really takes to stay safe and be healthy. You simply can't hide your way to good health. You know, germs and pathogens are not meant to be avoided. They're meant to be conquered, to be taken in, to be beat up and spit out. Most of the time without you even knowing it even happened. You know, our nervous system, our immune system, our respiratory system, our gut, they're all working in harmony is the greatest defense that you could ever draw up. No lab or industry can ever come close to building something so strong, so robust, so kick-ass. It comes with all the pieces and parts we need, but it does require some assembly. And that part, God leaves up to us. He's given us the instructions too. But sadly, those in charge of health and well-being, for the most part, decided that they'd like to replace that instruction manual with one they wrote instead. It's not cool. It's definitely not working. The building of good health begins in our mother's womb. So why don't we start there and clip along at this thing one stage of life at a time and what it would actually take to stay safe and be healthy. First, support and empower pregnant mamas. Today's medical system has long since overrun the celebratory, exciting elements of being pregnant and replaced them with a system that basically diagnoses them as pregnant and then treats them as if they have this life-ravaging condition. We leave moms scared, stressful, fearful, and anxious. And then we wonder why we have so many kids and babies riddled with stress, fear, and anxiety. You know, number two is get out of the way at birth. After 16 years of taking case histories of the sickest kids on the planet, I can tell you that this one factor is more detrimental to a child's health than nearly all the others combined. Even if we kept the stress and anxiety and fear out of the way during the pregnancy, it's nearly impossible to keep the intervention train out of the way during labor and delivery. Epidurals, inductions, membrane stripping, forceps, vacuum, manual assistance, and especially C-sections, they're just the new normal for bringing children into the world. Science, even science has caught up and run the math on what we've seen clinically for this entire time and proven that the overuse and interventions at birth has significant detrimental aspects to their health. Neurological challenges, respiratory, immune challenges, kind of a big deal right now. The gut, GI, obesity, asthma, allergies, diabetes, Crohn's, the list just keeps growing. You know, let's pause here to investigate an interesting tie to current times and set up the science behind birth intervention. Whenever intervention is required at birth, given that it's a medical procedure, everything is sterilized and everyone around you wears masks and gloves. Then from there, a very high number of these babies and their moms, sadly, are immediately put on antibiotics. So we have this sterile situation that leads to worsened health outcomes long-term for the child when compared to what happens when they're born naturally in a very non-sterile, germ and bacteria-rich environment, the birth canal. I wonder how our overall health and population is going to be in the coming months and years now that we've been bathing in Purell and Clorox and Lysol for the last year. Number three, the overuse of antibiotics in kids. You know, I could put 100 research citations at the bottom here because we've known clearly from both clinical practice and observations and research for decades now that most respiratory infections in children, really in everyone, are not even bacterial in nature. Even the CDC, who has been in bed with pharmaceutical companies for so long, they would have a common law marriage by now. They've even recently come out against the gross overutilization of antibiotics. Yet here we are. Our number one treatment still today by most pediatricians, family doctors, and urgency care facilities is to prescribe an antibiotic. Just go along our merry way. While that child increases their chances of autoimmune issues, obesity, and diabetes later on in life. Again, nothing new here. We've had pediatricians in charge for our children's health for generations now. And we've ended up with the sickest generations of children we've ever seen. You know what? Athletes lose their job if their results are poor. Restaurants get shut down and run out of town if they do anything that's unsafe. Small businesses get run out of town too if they're always late, overpriced, and constantly deliver mediocrity, much less the Mount Everest of BS that is our current health statistics. But we're going to keep them in the driver's seat with such abysmal results? This isn't sports. This is our children. And sick kids don't get to grow out of it and into magically healthy adults, which takes us to number 4. We should be prescribing wellness, not Walgreens. Popeyes, Starbucks, the liquor stores, they stayed open the entire time, but health clubs, gyms, even parks in the sunshine, closed. That should work out well. We know that in the current challenge we face, comorbidity factors of obesity, diabetes, hypertension, even heart disease, those are the biggest detriments of outcomes. We have everyone's attention right now, and therefore the greatest opportunity to ever do the most amount of good. But sadly, from most of the folks with the microphone, all you hear is this: stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, stay inside. And it's just been on repeat for an entire year. You know what? I'm not an activist. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or a self-righteous know-it-all either. I know, I love, and I even serve some of the most vulnerable people in society. People with autoimmune disorders, a child who just went through chemotherapy. You know, my own grandmother, who's no longer with us, during World War II, one of her jobs was to mop asbestos into the hulls of battleships. She battled major lung disease her entire adult life, for decades. You know, I've always fought to slow down, listen, and understand both sides of the story before I speak up. Well, today, I've chosen to speak up for all of us, for the little baby that didn't get to choose whether to be pulled out by their heads and neck, given antibiotics, and set on a path of stress and sickness, for the amazing moms and dads who just want to trust the advice and recommendations that they're given to have happy, healthy kids. You know, to the little kiddos who can't stand being sick and sick over and over again and don't know what each time they're given antibiotics and inhalers, they're further tethered to that outcome for the rest of their life. You know, to the obese, the stressed, the anxious adults who didn't get the real healthcare class from their parents or teachers or anyone else to this point and are just doing what they think is right and will keep them safe from this thing. My God, I feel for every one of these people, and we're here for every one of those people. We're here today and every single day with a message of hope and a complete arsenal of answers and action steps that led to unequivocal, life-changing health for thousands and thousands of kids and families in this community. We know what it takes, and we care enough to speak up, stand strong, and be there for you when you're ready. Staying safe has gotten us right to where we are today. Stay strong is the answer and path to a better tomorrow.